Oh, is it going to be an interesting day? Everybody wants to talk about. Everyone wants to talk about that settlement conference. Everyone wants to talk about the possible last. I don't know what you call it. The last night in the bunker where intoxicants may be allowed for years. They certainly seem to have taken advantage. We had a little bit of losing our mind and seething about old Aaron and the casino last night.
Uh-oh.
We also had a certain someone I guess endorsing pedophilic threats towards their former stepchildren. That was a good look. And then saying that I'm the bad guy. I got to tell you, it used to make me mad. Now it's just so pathetic to watch that you're just like, instead of arguing your case, you just point to the person and go, guys, look. Do you? Yeah. What was the old Blue Line ad? What did they say?
Oh crap!
Do you see what I'm working with here?
Oh Jesus!
That's kind of where I'm at this point. Do you see what? And you know what the internet's saying back to me? Holy shit! Yes. Must be amazing to be someone who's never done anything wrong in your life and you're always a victim. It's very odd, very strange. I've never been in that position. I f up too much. Sapphire said Ashton said something bad about Aaron. Have you ever watched Kino Casino when they talk about me? Ashton has said horrific things about me. Most of them completely true. So, yes, Ashton has said bad things about me.
Pay attention to the show. I'm not a good guy.
Yeah, pay attention, guys. Let's talk about the gossip that everybody wants to talk about. Today is the day. It is there
is no futon sale. So I just stopped.
What futon?
Oh, I'm sorry, that's not the
there was
gossip.
no. Why would you bring up the futon? You see, you can't get mad about people bringing up the futon.
You said you were just going to talk about the gossip, and the gossip was the pre-Black Friday futon sale, and that's
now.
Is there other gossip?
If people start running with the fact that you're selling a futon, you can't get mad at me.
I'm not.
That's you set those wheels.
When have
in motion.
I ever been mad at you about it?
Right. When have you ever left the show and left me holding the bag to be called the biggest scumbag who ever lived because you got upset on the show?
Again, I didn't do that. You see, that's them.
You're the one who left. Meanwhile, I'm the one. Both times that you walked off this show or you left the show emotional, both times I had nothing to do with it. And both times the comments and the discussion about the show are, boy, Aaron's a real piece of shit. Look what he did to Johnny. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, and both times I said that's not true. You didn't do it.
Oh, well, then in that case, what the fuck am I bitching about?
Yeah, I know.
What a pussy I am. Jesus Christ.
Oh, dude, not compared to me. I cried because Mersh said mean things.
Well, it was mean. And, it does cut deep. I understand it. Honestly, you could tie me to a tree and Mersh could yell the most hurtful things at me. And I'd still just go, you have a lazy eye, you're fat, and you can't stop doing drugs. This person can't make me cry. I cannot. If I cry at this person, it will be for them, not because of them. I'm sorry. All right, let's get to the let's go ahead.
The actual gossip.
And get into the gossip. Nick Rekieta has his what do they call that? A settlement conference today. It's basically the shit or get off the pot moment. All the shit talking you've done, all the drunken and high ranting you've done on Twitter. Doesn't mean anything today. You can't run, you can't hide. You got to be put to a decision today. Are you guilty or are you not guilty? Now, this entire time, what you're supposed to do when these things happen is you're not supposed to tell people you're guilty or not guilty. You're supposed to shut the up and let your lawyer work. He has not done that. He has maintained his innocence. He's not an addict. He's not doesn't have a drug problem. The recovery thing they made him go to get his kids back was all just performative. It was stupid. He doesn't need it, which all addicts go through that phase of, this.
Yeah, none of them have ever said that before.
Right. So it's all, he likes to look at himself as like very unique and an artistic bird, He's not. He's pretty boilerplate. He's pretty elementary, as it were. So he's got the big settlement conference today, and people are getting their predictions out. People are wondering what's going to happen. My God, dude, the amount of DMs I've gotten from people saying they know what's going to happen. They've got the inside track. You know what it proves to me?
Everybody's an idiot?
Nobody knows anything. Nobody knows anything. So now we have this settlement conference and all the big talk. This is the problem with rich kids, with the silver spoon in their mouth rich kids. Talk a big game, but when it comes to, pushing through and actually getting anything done, falter at the finish line,
Well, you're used to someone buying you through the rest.
Here's what it is. Silver spoon kids is ever backing down. That's their motive. Is that from Clerks, right? Clerks, they say, that's your motive. That's your motif. Ever backing down. I think that's what's going to happen today, is ever backing down. Now, I've heard from people have been everyone wants to give me the inside scoop, Mm-hmm. And the inside scoop I've gotten from some people is, I know for a fact he's pleading not guilty and he's going to trial. I also yesterday heard from some people were getting specific on me. They're like, he is pleading guilty to everything. There's not going to be any drop charges. And the thing I heard last night was, Aaron, I know for a fact he's pleading guilty and he's getting 5 years probation with drug testing. And I'm like, well, then you might as well throw him in prison. Why not just skip the middleman and throw him in prison? Because 5 years, sorry, it ain't going to work. Well, I've been thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what? And we're going to get to the chat, and I know a lot of people have their opinions and all that, and we'll get to Johnny's take as well. I've gone back and forth on this. I've flip-flopped on this over and over. The problem with narcissists and the problem with true lunatics, like true crazy people with serious mental damage like this, is that they don't know who they are. This is what makes them so unpredictable. They don't have an actual personality. Their whole life has been presenting and projecting an idea of themselves that they think people will find the most appetizing, that they think people will like. They need to be loved, but they don't know how to be loved. So that's why we've seen the dork, we've seen the anime guy, we've seen the lawyer guy, we've seen the drunk guy, the cocaine guy, the spite-filled rage guy, the wannabe tough guy, which is the most embarrassing version of these put-on personas. He's honestly gone through more personas than a professional wrestler. I think the closest one is the sexually frustrated dweeb, the guy with the gap tooth, and that's the real guy. This is a guy who never really got past, going to the grocery store and stealing the nudie magazine so he could look at boobies. Like that's the best version. I think the most authentic version. But we're talking about someone who can turn it off and turn it on at the drop of a hat. And I think what we're going to get today is guilty. I don't think there's going to be much of a sweetheart deal. And I think he's going to plead guilty and then snake on the whole thing publicly. He'll plead guilty and then he'll go, well, I had to. So he'll bend the knee. He'll bend over. He'll let the government shove the big red, white, and blue dick up his ass. He'll get sodomized by the government after all this big talk and everything else. He'll get fucked right up the ass by the government. He'll take a big load in the keister. He'll thank him for it. Thank you, Thank you, Massa. Thank you, Massa, for the big dick in my ass. I is so sorry that I've done all these bad things. And I'm glad you has set me straight, Massa. So he's going to play House Negro. And he's going to plead guilty to all these things. And he's going to get a shitty deal. Because going to trial will probably be an even shittier deal. Now, is that what's going to happen? That's what I've got right now. It's hard to predict because this is a person who has no authentic personality. Johnny, your thoughts, and then we'll go to the audience.
Well, kind of like you mentioned, he changes direction really quickly, so his compass is constantly spinning. I don't want to say I know what's going to happen, but off of what I've seen, I think he's probably going to I think he's going to fight it, because even your way, if he pleads guilty, they're going to put him on like whatever his sentencing is. It's going to be probationary with like no drinking or drugs, and he can't have weapons and all that other stuff. So there's going to be too many like caveats that he's going to have to fill, and I feel like either way he's going to get sentenced, and if he's aware of that, he's going to fight it just in the last ditch effort to
That's
get
interesting. I want to ask you this then, because your take is fascinating to me. So are you saying that that he doesn't know what he'll do right now?
No, he doesn't necessarily know what he'll do right now.
Okay.
I'm going with the presumed chemical angle, where it's going to be like giving those up is going to be a problem. Then, in my opinion, if he's looking at that, then even on a subconscious level, if he's aware of it, he's like, well, we won't be able to do that. That won't work. So we've got to try and get through this and not have any consequences, so that way life can return to the way it was. That's my only insight.
So let me see if I understand this. You're saying they're going to him on the deal, so you might as well drag it out, do the trial thing. You're not going to jail anyway, and see if you can get lucky.
Yeah, on the off chance that you get through everything, some technicality comes through, the evidence gets thrown out one way or another.
Or you lose and you get nailed to the wall on the probationary stuff anyway.
Yeah, and you were going to get put there, in your opinion, if that went that way. So what are you going to do?
All right. $5 from Grand Poobah. He says, I'd like to complain. I ordered a 20-pound turkey from Johnny, but what arrived looked like a swan. Can't say for sure without the feathers, but the beak was black and flat, and the feet were webbed. Johnny, comment?
Again, I sold no birds of any kind. Turkey, parakeet, owl. I got nothing.
You don't sell any birds?
I don't sell any birds. I got no birds, man.
Well, 320 away from today. And
flipping pigeons.
If we get under 300 by the top of the hour, I have to shut my goddamn mouth about it. Let's go to Bigot on Socialist Media. He says, we'll go through your guys' thoughts on the matter, and then we'll move on to the next thing. Bigot on Socialist Media says, I want to see Nick explain getting sodomized by the government. Look, you know that he'll be the victim somehow. You know that he'll be the victim, and everyone else who can see is wrong. Nick is the literal definition of who you going to believe, me or your lying eyes. I mean, this guy can't operate without being dishonest. So, however he's going to spin it. See, that's why I was thinking yesterday go to trial, because that way he can say, didn't do it, lawyer fucked me. But if you plead guilty, you have to admit what you did. You got to admit.
If you plead guilty, you have to own it, and if you plead guilty, like I said, you're going to have they might be like, all right, well, he pleaded guilty, so we're going to offer him this deal. But unless that deal doesn't involve like probationary testing, you're not going to pass. So what are you going to do?
Love the Pie says Nick utterly buck broken. That's a term that's been thrown around a lot too. Love the Pie also saying Nick's already in hell too. Yeah. Well, he's got to take care of his 5 kids. He hates that. Let's go to. I'm looking for takes here. I'm not seeing it. I got a lot of shit talking. I don't want to lean too much on the shit talking. I want legit takes from people. I know there's going to be some shit talking, but Sam Show says he's going to say not guilty and fight it, and he's going to act like you're a retard for ever thinking otherwise. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously he's going to cope. I mean, that's kind of the thing he does best. I'm looking for takes. A lot of jokes, which is great. A lot of shit talking, which is wonderful. A lot of people shit talking Patrick Melton. McBuster says, please fight it, Nick. Day One Salt says he was coping until 3 a.m. Yeah, he was very upset at the old casino and me. Just can't get those two things off his mind. I think he's just it's It's fucked him up. It's fucked him up, I think. He's driven himself mad, as it were. All right, so well, tomorrow you and I will be on together.
Yeah.
We'll get to see whose prediction came true and whose doesn't. McBuster says body cam footage released immediately once he takes a plea. Well, you also have to factor in the fact that he's addicted to multiple substances. And if he pleads not guilty, he gets those substances for a little while longer.
Right.
Think about that. You plead today, cocaine and booze is going to be really difficult to sneak. It's doable, but it's going to be really difficult. If you plead not guilty, you can still do the coke and booze.
And you have the hope that somehow you're going to weasel out of everything and be free and clear by the end.
Maybe. Annoyed Wawa supervisor says he'll plead, attempt to grift on the back of being persecuted by the government, then spend the next year trying to get the probation gone so he can go back to blow and booze. And good luck. I don't think that's how it works. But you might, who knows? Maybe. I know that whatever happens, you're not going to believe this, Johnny, but no matter what happens, it won't be his fault.
Okay.
No matter what happens, somebody else did this to him. This was somebody else, that fucking snake Aaron, the jackboot of the government, whatever.
So he has no agency over his life then? It's always somebody else that does this to him.
No. When something good happens, and granted it's been a while, but when something good happens, it was all him.
Oh, that's awfully interesting.
Yes. When something bad happens, it was always somebody else. That's the thing. It's like, it's embarrassing to watch someone not realize that everyone knows you're full of shit and you're not fooling anybody. It's wild to me. Nick will be free on 1-year license, says Klopogram, and it's going to make Aaron have a mental breakdown. Yeah, I don't think so. But hey, that's a prediction too. Klopogram's not a big fan of mine though, so that might be more of a wish than a prediction. A-Team says, I think if he has to do time, then he will overdose before. He's not going to do time. The sentencing guidelines are such that he's not going to do time, I don't think. Sapphire says, I want a Bubba to beat Nick half to death for abusing those kids. Jesus. Why does it always have to be a Bubba? Can't it ever just be a Steve that fucks you in the ass when you're in jail? Love the
got a Steve in mind, do you?
I love the pie says, how hard is it to sneakily do booze or substances on probation? I don't know. I'm not a junkie who's ever needed to not do substances.
Yeah, I've never been on like a chemical probation and had to test. I don't know how difficult that is.
Love the pie says lots of drugs don't show up. Well, I mean, I know
if they know what they're looking for, I'm betting they have a test.
Well, there is something. I have spoken to someone who has knowledge. There have been things consumed that are not illegal and don't show up on tests, but can fuck you up. That person has not decided to share that information quite yet, so I'm not going to share that information. I hope he's... Andrew Sun says, I hope Rekieta is held accountable for the electric trespass crimes. Moving forward. That's what I can say. Moving forward. I don't want... Here. No jinxing anything. Love the Pie says lots of drugs don't show up on tests. Well, I mean, again, I will defer to the audience on this one because I don't know anything about drug
All right, everybody,
testing.
let's get weird. All right, I don't know. I've never had to test.
Scram Person says 4 to 5 days, meth is out of your system. I feel like you're going to be tested more than every 4 or 5 days, aren't you?
Yeah, the meth might be out of your system, but once meth is in you, it's like, it's not out of you. The rest of us can tell, oh, there's been some meth there. Okay.
Sapphire says bath salts. I see. I don't know enough. I'm drug illiterate when it comes to that.
Apparently
stuff.
our audience isn't.
Yeah. Nick always weighed and measured anything I did out for me, so I never got my hands dirty, so I don't really know.